I may actually have found something that will revolutionize the world of language patterns. Or maybe not, but I just found this sentence prompt that could be of massive use whenever you want to develop your skills with language patterns and how to master some advanced communication maneuvers. The sentence prompt is, I will challenge you, so you ask ChatGPT, I will challenge you with attacking statements on a certain topic, whatever you talk about. I want you to respond only by using sleight of mouth patterns from the model developed by Robert Dilts, so that the machine knows what we are talking about, while mentioning every time with which sleight of mouth pattern you're using. Can you do that? So when I did that after a few trials, because I had to adapt basically the sentence prompt, because in the beginning the machine was not understanding clearly what I was talking about, I could finally find a way to develop those skills for anyone who want to practice with it. So for example, I said something I heard many times, hypnosis is evil and manipulative, or NLP is evil, something I heard so many times in university when I was in college. And for example, right here, it is giving me right away one example of a pattern that could be used, mentioning which pattern it is. So you can go back in the book, for example, noticing what this pattern was about specifically. And it is giving an example, which I think is pretty impressive that the machine can do that without any prior training on how to use sleight of mouth. Then I said something I heard many times too, you don't understand, some people are seriously damaged because of shady hypnotists. And it is replying with a consequence pattern. It is true that in some instances where individuals have had negative experiences, but it is leading my mind. Then I just reply, they can't, there are just too many bad people in the world. And it is giving me another reframe. So basically you can definitely use that to write down all the things you hear that you can't argue against. Whenever somebody says something and you don't know how to respond, how to reply, how to defend yourself verbally sometimes, you might just write down what those people say in the chat prompt, and then you notice what the response could be. And if you could hear in the back of your head, yes, but if I say that, then the person will reply with la la la, then you just write down, you just type the answer exactly as if you were in a real conversation. So many ways we could use that. One big example I have in mind is just to develop your understanding of the topic you are discussing, the topic of conversation. Whenever you get stuck in a conversation because you don't know how to reply, just using that method, training yourself with that method will enlarge your understanding of the field you are navigating into. Many times people get stuck in a conversation or in a debate, in a verbal confrontation, just because they don't know enough about the topic at hand, or they don't clearly understand the perspective of the person they are exchanging with. So the second step I would see with that process is to do it with both sides. And I know it may sound uncomfortable for many people. If you have strong political values or philosophical values, you may not want to try to defend the other opinion. But doing so will actually enrich again your perspective and make you understand whatever the person might get you stuck with. You will understand what they are talking about even before they talk about it, if you use that method. So for example, if you are in a context with very basic scenario, Republicans against Democrats. Nothing of any political setup is completely right or completely wrong. It's always a mix of both. Using that method with both sides, so on the first step you defend the Republicans with the chat box, and on the second step you defend socialism with the chat box, you will just realize how many more details there is about the situation than you thought about initially. And those details are things you can use very easily the next time you have to talk about the topic. You can just defend yourself or hold a stance with accurate knowledge and not just emotional garbage. Then eventually, an even more advanced way of using that method would be to ask ChatGPT right away to give you a combination of patterns, not just one by one, because in this example I only asked to get one pattern at a time. You may even ask to get a combination of patterns, telling ChatGPT what is the best possible combination of patterns to reply to this statement. If the person got me stuck with, oh, it is because Republicans are just stealing oil in this part of the world, and you write that in the chat box and ask what would be the best combination of sleight of mouth patterns to reply to this. Or on the reverse, if it is, for example, oh, socialist people, they just impoverish the nation, like they did in this specific example, where this company got shut down because of socialism, whatever, then same thing, you write down and you notice, you ask a ChatGPT, what would be the best combination of sleight of mouth patterns to reply to this attack, to this verbal attack, and even better if it is something directly against you, if the person is attacking with something personal like you should behave this way, you should behave that way, you should think like that. Same thing, you write down, you should think like this because smart people all have the same opinion, then ChatGPT will give you the best combination possible to reply with intelligent data and not just emotional statements that will only make the conversation escalate towards something more and more and more negative in the end. And even before ChatGPT was around, I was playing with that method for years and years of combining together sleight of mouth patterns and noticing what could be the best combination to insert in the mind of somebody an idea of my own or reframing something they thought was true so that I can either help them in therapy if they are stuck with a belief that is really not letting them be who they want to be, how to reframe that belief, and if it is in a confrontation, how to hold a strong stance without appearing like a dick to some extent. I had developed my own methods, and you can find the 3 best combinations I have ever found in the description down below on the first link. I have prepared that on a course with all the slides explaining very specifically on the chart where to start when you want to use the first combination, for example, what is the first pattern to use, which one is the second one, which one is the third one, and why this structure, why starting by this one. I just made that into a more comprehensive guide so that people don't start from scratch, they start with an actual structure. Because even if the initial sleight of mouth model was, in my opinion, a brilliant invention, for many people it was still confusing about, yeah, but the chart is like that and I understand how this pattern works, but then I don't really know how to use it once I am in a real conversation. I'm never really sure of what to start with and should I say this or that. I give you in this course down below in the description the best combination based on the situation you are into. So there are 3 combinations and I tell you specifically this one is better for this type of interaction, this one is better if you are faced with this type of interaction or this type of person, and explaining to you what to use at which moment. You can check that if you want down below, and if you have any recommendations or any suggestions about sentence prompts to use with sleight of mouth or language patterns and ChatGPT, you can post them in the comments. I will be glad, obviously, to read about what you have found.